Hello. Hey, welcome to episode 2. I'm excited to present today Budget Boot Camp. My name is Dwight Owens. I'm here with my partner, Miss Anita Weish. And we've got 2 new participants today who's going to be listening and learning and asking lots of tough questions.
My name is Nisha Himes. I'm the founder of Grow Foundation, which is a local organization, a nonprofit organization, providing assistance to victims and survivors of abuse looking to rebuild their life.
Well, good. Good to
Thank
have
you.
you.
Thank you.
Yes, ma'am.
Hi, I'm Latasha. I am a senior accountant for a nonprofit organization.
Awesome. So why is it important that you be here at Budget Boot Camp today?
I think it's important just as a small business owner, but also interacting with people in the community who need to know how to rebuild their financial life as well. So,
Yeah. How about you?
For me, even as an accountant, I too struggle with debt. So I think this class would help me to create or build generational wealth for my children in the long run.
That is awesome. The budget, as we'll see here, the spending plan is foundational to all of those kinds of things. Building generational wealth, teaching your children how finances and money work. So that's exciting. We'll press ahead here. The question for us today is one of a couple of questions is how do you control your expenses? We're talking about you. And so take a minute or so to reflect on that. Here's another survey question for you. When it comes to budgeting, put yourself there in the sentence. Do you say you love it? Something that you like doing, you neither like nor dislike, or hey, I hate it altogether. just take a minute to just answer just one of those. One choice only, please.
Oh, I was thinking all 4 on some days.
right.
The next question is, how often do you track your budget performance? Is it on a monthly basis, weekly basis, quarterly basis, or if you're like me here lately, quite honestly, whenever I can get around to it? So that's a choice. But just reflect on that. What tools do you use for budgeting? Is it like a desktop software package like a Quicken or QuickBooks that is, businesses use a lot of QuickBooks? Is it an app that's on your phone, especially your younger folks there, like EveryDollar, Honeydew? What about an Excel spreadsheet or a Google sheet? Or, hey, if it's even just a plain old notebook, white sheet of paper, or legal pad, just curious there, what do you think about that, and how do you approach the tools for budgeting yourself? So let's talk about, as we dive into this, what is a budget? What is a budget? A budget is a written plan for your money. I want to highlight your money, right? Because you are ultimately in control of it. You're not in control of a lot of things. We can't control the weather. We can't control the temperature outside. The traffic. But your money that you make and bring in on a monthly basis, you actually can control that. Yeah. Direct it, tell your money where to go. So the budget provides an estimate of income and expenses that you have over a set period of time. It allows you to direct and allocate your money to things you care about, based on your priorities, based on your values. It allows you to keep track of your own goals and helping you to reach those, your savings goals, your spending goals. And it literally allows you, it permits you. We see oftentimes folks, wow, I've got to do this dreaded budget thing. Hey, I don't make enough. Really, literally, the budget actually gives you permission to spend. It says, hey, if I'm going to take, $40 this week and spend it on McDonald's, or I'm going to take $30 this week and spend it on whatever, it allows you to do that. It actually gives you that control. We'll press ahead, but the key thing there is in terms of focusing on your why, in terms of setting smart goals for yourself. The budget in and of itself is just a tool. The budget is the budget. But beyond that budget, it is allowing you to set some goals for yourself. And we like to use this acronym SMART in determining our financial goals. So literally that is the first thing in terms of the budget for yourself. It is finding out a goal that is specific, measurable, achievable, relevant, and time bound. And then based on that, you're using that budget as a tool to help you achieve it. So I like to think of it as the so that. I'm doing this budget thing on a weekly basis, on a daily basis, on an hourly basis, whatever your periodicity is, so that we can measure our goal of reducing our household's expenses by 15% over the next 3 years. Notice, it is time bound. We're gonna do this over the next 3 years. It is, hey, we're gonna reduce it measurable by 15%. Hey, we can probably achieve that, and it is indeed relevant to our goals and our values. We're gonna maintain the goal so that I can monitor my debt reduction plan to be done, to be completely paid off of all consumer debt by July 2026, as an example. There are many other examples that we could go to, but we'll press ahead. Here are some practical budget tips for you. Some things that you wanna just keep in mind. We just talked about identifying your values and priorities. I like to tell people to get an accountability partner. An accountability partner will help you in your quest for getting your budget lined up to your goals. That accountability partner can kind of just be a sensing board, a sounding board that you use. I tell folks, especially couples, to have a budget committee meeting. Imagine on a Friday night, a married couple, you've got your kids all in bed, it's 9 p.m., you're relaxed, the week is done, you get yourself your favorite beverage, you know, a glass of water, a glass of tea, hot tea, whatever your choice is, popcorn, potato chips, get your sandwich, and you're just sitting down at the kitchen table to talk about kitchen table kinds of things, budgeting. So you're gonna look at that budget, you're gonna figure out, hey, we may be able to increase over here, decrease over there, again, based on your priorities and values, and you're just gonna work the budget. It is a continual thing. You're gonna work it relentlessly as you continuously organize. We'll talk a lot about creating a zero-based budget, and all that simply means is you want at the end of the budget period, whether it's weekly, monthly, or whatever, the amount of income that's coming in and the amount of expenses going out, you want them to be equal. You want the exact amount that's coming in, going out. Give yourself 3 to 6 months to refine the budget. Be intentional about it, but give yourself a lot of grace. I like to tell people to start with a pencil, not a pen, in doing the budget. You'll be doing some erasing, you'll be doing some changes as you work to perfect it. It is a never-ending quest, but it is a lot of fun. Make it fun, stay encouraged, stay motivated, give yourself grace and kindness, as I mentioned, and maintain the flexibility.
I have a question.
Yes, ma'am.
So how often should I adjust my budget, and under what circumstances should I adjust my budget?
Yeah, very good question. We talked about in that other slide where I asked on a survey, quarterly or monthly or weekly, figure out a rhythm that's best for you. For me personally, on a monthly basis, as an example, works that I review it. And remember, the budget is a forward-looking document,
Yeah.
not a backwards looking. So you're not looking at, we're in the month of April 2024 now. You're not looking at March. You're just looking back there for historicals as you're looking to craft your budget. So right now, mid-April, you'd want to be looking at May's budget. Hey, I'm projecting I've got this amount of money that's coming in for May, and then here are my outflows. So I do it on a monthly basis. When you're starting out, if you need to do it on a weekly or even a daily basis as you refine it, do that. Yes, ma'am.
So to piggyback off that, what should I pay first out of my budget?
Yeah, good question. Priorities, we talk a lot about 4 walls. What are your priorities? They are housing, shelter kinds of things. They are food, particularly for a family, of 3 or 4 children. You gotta make sure you're eating, right? Your transportation, if you're needing transportation to get to work every day, and then your utilities, which are a part of that as well. I mean, you need your lights, you need your gas. It would be it would be very, very bad, in the middle of winter around here at 30 degrees outside to not have heat for your children. So that comfort level. Those 4 priorities we would start. Others, hey, if you're faith-based, like many of us are, right, you want to prioritize your tithes, your offering as an example. And then throughout our classes in Bank On as an example, we tell people to pay yourself first. You gotta just have that mindset. So what does that mean?
Right.
That means however much you can afford, $25, $50, $10 even every month, before you pay Visa, before you pay MasterCard, before you pay Dominion Power, put aside $5, $10, $20, $100 to yourself in a savings account that you're building your emergencies for.
And
Make
then-
sense?
Just looking at some of the practical tips, one of the things I really think is important when you're first starting off is having that accountability partner. And the biggest thing that I think people get confused, say for instance, if you're not married and your accountability partner is a friend,
Right.
just remember everybody's budget is going to be different
Right.
because you may have daycare and I don't, or you may like to shop. You still have to remember when you're doing that budget to make sure, even though you have that accountability person, that you're focusing in on everything that is important to you. But that accountability person, it's harder to say, "Oh, I'm not doing my budget," if I've told Latasha to come over and I'm like, man, Latasha will be here at 8 o'clock.
Right.
So that
Right.
accountability, and especially when you're first starting out, because starting with the budgeting, it can feel overwhelming, especially if you're that person that, okay, I'm getting paid tomorrow, I know my check is $1,500, and you're working it out all in your head. But once you get to that point of doing that budget and writing it down, I think whenever you write something down, you're going to be more likely to stick with it because you're looking at it every
Right.
day than when you try to balance it in your head. So
Real.
I think that is having that accountability partner is really, really a good thing, and that grace and kindness. Because just like learning to ride a bike, you have some people that start that budget and you fall off. But
Right.
as a kid, you fell off, you got back on the bike, and you kept it moving. And that's how that budget is going to be until you get a system that really works for you. So just give yourself that grace that you may not do it every month in the beginning, but as you get better at it, it's just going to come second nature.
Good stuff, good stuff. We'll press ahead with some more tips here. Hey, avoid lifestyle creep. Back to your earlier question, for example, when I examine maybe some of those life moments, changing moments, a pay raise as an example, you definitely want to re-examine. If, for example, you reduce the hours, you kind of definitely want to. If you're getting overtime,
Yep.
you're into the middle of the month. So those kinds of things, you kind of revisit it, right?
Or you pay off a big bill. Like a
Exactly.
car payment.
Like a
Now,
car.
where I'm gonna take that $500? What I'm gonna do with it? Now
Yeah.
the car is paid off.
Yeah, whenever that situation changes. I like to tell people that budgeting is not a math problem. I know that sounds antithetical,
Right.
right? But it really isn't. It really is a matter of your personal relationship and interaction with your money, with your dollars, no matter how much you have or how little. It's that interaction that you're having with it. We'll talk a little bit about reducing spending and ways to do that. Take a look at those subscriptions that you've got. If you've got every subscription there from the Amazon to the Hulu to the
man.
Netflix to the
Stop stepping
You
on
know,
toes.
like,
Nah,
Feel like it
man.
coming for me, right? Like,
toes.
feel like it coming for me. I just showed up. You coming for me?
Okay. Okay.
Yeah, take a look at those. That gym membership, when you can, as an alternative, and some of these may only be for a season. So back to those SMART goals. You can say, hey, for the next year, I'm not going to Ghost Gym. I'm just going to walk around the neighborhood. I'm going to just do some, yard work to get exercise. And those kinds of things, dues and cutting the cable. I mean, that's a big one. I know folks who may have, every subscription, but in addition, they've got cable.
Yeah.
So yeah, you want to take a look at that. Eating out less, less online shopping and things like this. Don't forget the income side of the equation, folks, where you may be doing door dashing or Ubering or doing some extra hours or something to bring in some extra money again for a season. It is critically important that you work and strive and have one of your goals to build an emergency fund. 3 to 6 months, but you can also start off with $300, $400, $500, whatever that means, so that when the car breaks down, I call this having a GOK fund. Anybody care to venture what my GOK fund is? Anybody? Quickly.
Okay, God only knows.
She knows
Look,
because
I've heard
she's heard
this,
this
yeah.
before.
I was trying to let somebody else
Let
guess.
somebody, my God only knows account that, hey, the tire, you have a flat, the car breaks down. This is similar to an emergency fund, but there are some categories of things that we can talk about. An emergency is the 5-year-old, falls down and chips a tooth,
Right.
needs emergency care and things like that. The car breaking down, the flat tire, that's probably not a matter of if, but only it's when. So take a look at those kinds of things and just be aggressive about it. Here's some list of expenses in specific categories. Fixed expenses, you see there are some examples of those. The mortgage is a great one because, again, month in, month out, it's probably the same if you've got a fixed mortgage rate. The car payment, those are fixed kinds of things. So those are easily captured, right? You know from your historical spending, hey, how much I spend on my mortgage, how much the car note is. Down some other variable things, though, groceries and fuel and entertainment, medical kinds of things may vary from month to month. And then periodic expenses are some examples here, but these are very, very important to take a look at.
Yes.
Property tax that only comes like once or twice a year, but you know when those months are. Insurance payments come every 6 months, perhaps every 3 months. A lot of folks will budget those on a monthly basis. Birthdays and holidays. Birthdays and holidays. Guess what, folks? Christmas comes year in and year out on the 25th of December. I'm not telling you anything new here. So that is something that you can look forward to and budget, right? Valentine's Day, hey man, February 14th every year. So you can actually budget for that. You don't have to necessarily wait until the 13th, right, to go and blow your budget to go and buy things on a credit card, as an example. So those are some examples.
Look, somebody may wait till the 14th when it's all
August
discounted.
15th is on
discount,
sale.
hey.
Save a
Get
little
that
money.
day after.
Yeah.
Look,
Get in trouble though.
you better
Oh,
have me not be mad at you for that on that accountability piece.
Yeah.
Say, hey, we waited until the discount, or even better yet, the day after. Like for
Yeah,
Christmas,
yeah,
for
that's
me,
it.
I oftentimes go and buy the Christmas cards and the lights and things like that the day after. But I'm doing that in anticipation of
Yeah.
the next season. So,
Yeah.
good point.
In our class, a lot of times in the bank on class, the periodic expenses are what people always forget to put in the budget.
Yeah.
Because it's like, okay, I pay my personal property taxes in June.
Right.
It's not rolling around again until next year. So we don't prepare for it. But that is one that when you're doing that budget, really remember and write those things down, because just like you do anything else, those property taxes, you can set aside money each month so that when it rolls around in June, you're not stressing on how I'm going to come up with $500 or whatever that
Right.
personal property tax is.
And we've got a slide, I think, coming up here in a little bit that talks to that. Forecasting, we'll breeze through this one, but that's what we're talking about, things that are irregular.
Yeah.
We'll press forward to the next one. This is what we were just talking about. You can actually break this down. This example is by month. So you know that you've got all of these periodic things. Hey, I'm going to plan on getting your oil changed to new tires. There's the property tax, somebody's birthday, oil change again, the car, holidays. So you can just add all of those up. And at the end of it here, what we're saying is there was $1,200 throughout the year of these expenses. You break that up into $200 per each month, and this is how your spending plan would look based on these periodics. Hey, in January, there was nothing periodic, but I've got $200 in reserve. I'm going to add another $200 for February, but I'm spending $50 on an oil change. And so therefore, at the end of February, I've got this amount in reserve, and this is my balance, my running balance of that. And it just goes on like that each month. Every time you're putting money into this budget, you're spending it out. That was the delta between the two, and then this is your running balance. So that at the end of the year, then you've accounted for all of your periodic expenses. We'll press ahead to the next one there. Again, more questions. Hey, which of the following should be included in the spending plan? Is it periodic expenses, goals, expense monthlies, or all of the above?
Say all of it.
Yep.
All of it.
All of the above. All of the above, I think, is the correct answer.
Yeah.
Next one. And all of the above. Hey, some techniques for tracking. We talked about some of these. There's an envelope method. Years ago, folks would have a lot of cash. You know, we weren't in a digital environment, you know, with credit cards and things like that. Literally, if you've got cash, you can get yourself a set of envelopes and you can write on there, here's my rent or my mortgage, and stuff cash into that envelope. Here, for the month of April, I'm going to spend $300 in food. You put $300 of cash into that food envelope. Guess what? 3 days before the end of the month, if there is no money there, wow, you got to take a look. You got to make some hard decisions. Food is one of those prioritized ones. But, for example, if the entertainment envelope is empty with 5 days to go in the month, hey, you may not want to replenish that envelope until the following month. Calendar method, register, all of these are techniques. The important thing here to recognize is you want to work and do the tracking and method that is comfortable for you, something that you can be comfortable with. Yes, ma'am.
So if I have extra money left over after I do my budget, then what do I do with that? What should I do with that?
Great question. What's important to you?
You told me I couldn't do it. I can't try. I can't do it.
my-
but making sure I'm on track with everything and
Right.
saving for a rainy day. Maybe I want to go on vacation, or maybe I want to buy a home or things like that. So yeah.
You see, what I do with leftover is based on my goals and priorities.
Gotcha.
What you just described is based on yours. So when I hear, hey, I want to go on vacation, I'm going to put that extra into an account, a savings account, a high yield account that allows me to save for that next vacation. Hey, I want to pay down this debt. I want to pay down this mortgage like super fast.
Yeah.
I got an extra $300 in the budget. Hey, Bank of America, my mortgage company, I would like to make a principal-only
Right.
payment of
Right.
$300.
Right.
Now, Miss Cherry there, her goals and priorities may be, hey, I want a new dress and a new pair of red shoes.
You
She
want
said,
Oh, you're right. Okay.
and so, hey, I've got a little bit of extra.
Right.
Or, hey, I want to save, I've got a 3-year-old who needs, extra school clothes.
Right.
But
So
it,
would it be the same for like needs and wants? My needs might be a little bit different from hers.
correct. And we'll talk a little bit about that, I think, in a subsequent one. But there's that.
Yes.
Yeah,
It does.
it is taking a look at going back to those values and those priorities that you've set for yourself and those goals, and then aligning whatever is extra. And to your point, that is a really great question, because at the end of the month, right, you want what's coming in and what's going out to include savings,
Yes.
retirement investments, short-term investments, saving for vacations and things like that. You want it to be exactly.
And when you do your budget, make sure that you try to figure out a way to have some of your wants in there.
Right.
Because it's nothing worse than doing a budget and feeling like all I'm doing is paying bills.
Right.
Mm.
I
Right.
got my money, I paid my bills. So
Right.
just try to figure out ways to make sure that you have things in there that you like. Dwight, do you discuss like the spending diary or anything in the presentation?
In the spending diary, I don't think we did it in this one, but in our class, yeah, that is clearly a part of it. That's part of that initial step, is based on your current spending, you're beginning to figure out and understand exactly how much am I spending on food,
Right.
Yeah.
on fast food,
Right.
on eating out versus groceries, and that spending diary will allow you to do that.
Yeah.
Yeah, but that's key. That's good. We'll press ahead here, the next one. And here's some examples of those apps. Speaking of Empower, You Need a Budget. There's actually an application out there, an app called You Need a Budget. Pocket Guard, Quicken, Honeydew. These are all, some of these are free, some of these are fee-based, as you can see there. But again, the more important thing is find one of those methods that's comfortable for you. Find one that's
Exactly.
Next one. Let's take a look at how we organize this. Here's an expense tracker, and this gets to your point, Nita, a little bit earlier about that spending diary. Because you're writing these things down. These are actual expenses that you're having on in this example, where we were at X Mart, we bought groceries there, apples for $6.12. Hey, it becomes in my grocery category. The socks is in a clothing category. The insurance of $259 is in my transportation, or you could have an insurance category over here. How about the power bill, the electric bill? Again, it's in housing, or you could have a utilities column over here. Gas, definitely transportation. Rent, definitely housing. And literally, you just take that and then you're going to total it up at the end of whatever period you're looking at, monthly, weekly. This is your grand total of groceries, grand total of entertainment, of transportation, and so forth, of housing. And literally, that's how you would do it, whether it's on that spreadsheet that we talked about, whether it's in the app, and then you're going to reconcile between what was actually spent to what you budgeted. The next one here, we'll press ahead. Wants and needs, evaluating those and adjusting your plans. Needs, wants, savings, debt, all of these things. But we keep going back to this, aligning it to your priorities and your values. Things like reducing debt, make sure you're including paying yourself first, which accounts for the savings. Let's go to the next one. This is the fun chart that I like, and we've talked about this a couple of times. Is it a want or a need as you begin to reduce some expenses?
Right.
So for example, the house phone, the landline phone, is it a want or a need? I see heads shaking.
Neither.
Need, want,
For a landline?
need. How about a cell phone? Is it a want or a need?
One or
Need.
the other.
I hear a lot.
It's a need.
I hear lots of needs for that one. Here's one that I like to throw at you. How about the cell phone for the third grader, the 8-year-old?
That's a one.
Definitely.
You notice though, again, these are based on individual priorities.
I think circumstances.
You think it a need, I may think it a want,
Yeah.
right? High-speed internet access. Boy, I hear a lot of needs on that one
I need it.
nowadays.
Definitely.
I need on that one. Gym membership.
I need that. I do.
We
Mental health. I
talked
need
about that
that.
earlier. You talked about that earlier. How about eating out at restaurants?
No,
One.
I want.
The third and fourth vehicles for kids to drive.
I don't even want
Depends
that.
on how old they are.
Right.
How about vacation trips?
Need. I want. I said,
Want.
where am I
I
going? Like, you need a vacation, but am I going to like Dubai or am I going like
To the beach.
to Virginia Beach?
To-
Right. So.
Yeah, I hear folks debating that one all
Yeah.
the time. We had one lady in class, I recall that lady said, hey, it's definitely a need.
Yeah, you gotta.
After you've been in the office, with the
Yeah.
folks that I work with, I think that's how she pretty much described it.
Yeah.
New clothing for every style and every season.
Want.
And then these last two here, music and going to concerts kind of go hand in hand. But yeah, again, the important thing, values, your priorities, individually, of how you view these things. Okay, next one. Here's some spending guidelines. And these are, keep in mind, these are really only guidelines. Your situation may be different from other folks' situation. But as a general guide, about 7% for savings that you're paying yourself first. Housing, we include in this number not only your mortgage and your rent, but also things like your utilities, your power bill, your water bill, things like that. Transportation would include, gas and those periodic oil changes and setting aside monies for repairs and things like that. Debt, well, that's an interesting one. 4%, that number by and large, writ large, depending on the amount of national debt that we have, is obviously much larger. About 15% for groceries, 3% there for things like entertainment and insurance, clothing, medical, miscellaneous. Education obviously depends on whether or not you're paying tuition, how many kids you've got in school. So that may be different than other folks. And including things like charitable donations and things like that. It may be different than your charitable donations and things like that may be different than others. But a good gauge as you begin to kind of figure out and understand about how much these are typically based on national averages. And the next one, please. And as a guideline again, so if your net income and your guideline, you're just going to take a look at the differences. So for example, if you're only saving 1% and that guideline is 7%, then you would probably want to bring that savings up to 6%. Conversely here, your guideline, your percent of housing is 35%, you're actually lower than the guideline. So you've got room there in your housing budget to reallocate. Groceries, the same way. You're only doing 11%, the guideline is 15%, so you've got some room there. But you may want to adjust your miscellaneous there because you're a little bit over, you're 2% over the national guideline. Make sense? Make sense? Okay, we'll run through it a quick example. First of all, in terms of creating this budget, you're going to take a look at the expense side first. Here you've got $300 of net expenses after taxes and insurance, all of that comes out of your paycheck. And you're also doing some work on the side here. You're baking cakes. You've got a great skill there that you've turned your hobby into an additional source of income. You're also getting some income there in child support. Total income, $5,000 a month in this case we're using. And then here's the cake business taxes that comes out. The state tax for that as well, for withholdings of $200. So you've got a monthly net spendable income of $4,800. That's the income side. Now we'll fast forward here to the next chart, and these are the expenses that you've allocated. You've taken a look at that spending diary that we talked about. You've taken a look at past bills, past expenses that you've had, and you've come to the conclusion that, hey, I can allocate these amounts in my budget. I can allocate the $150 for emergency savings, for periodic savings, for that specific goal, for the Christmas gifts and things like that. Here's what's coming out for rent, my insurance, all of these things, my transportation. You notice all of these are neatly categorized. They're categorized by my housing, my transportation, here's my debt. Here's some things like childcare. On this side of the ledger, we've got our food and groceries, entertainment, other insurance, life insurance, disability, and so forth there, clothing, all the way down. And at the end here, we're also saving for retirement, saving for education or paying for tuition, and doing some charitable donations. However, $5,046 of expenses. There's a problem there, right?
Yeah.
Because on the previous slide, there was a $4,800 in income that's coming. So we need to make some adjustments to this budget, right? So let's take a look at that. What are some areas in the budget that you could come up with? We've got to come up with about $246 because there's a difference. What are some of those areas that you may be able to reduce to get this budget to zero base?
Internet bills kind of high.
Internet bills,
$200.
she said, is kind of high. $200
Under housing.
on the housing. Internet, maybe a little bit high. Is this the situation? Is this a case where you and your accountability partner,
Right.
back to the very beginning, can kind of take a look at that. Married couples can kind of agree, hey, we need to probably reduce that internet. Hey, a friend coming over, your best friend, your accountability partner. Hey, what do you think about this? You know, am I spending too much on this internet? Nah, that's probably a good one to go after. What are some of the other ones? Anything else that comes to mind?
Goals,
Social
savings.
goal or clothing. perhaps.
Savings goals, clothing. Yes, yeah, you can take a look at those. And then we'll fast forward to the next one, and you'll see that this is a determination that was made. In fact, the internet, we kind of reduced it in half.
Right.
We also took a look at reducing the allowance piece there and clothing. Again, you may not want to reduce that all the way to zero, but you can reduce a percentage of that.
No new shoes?
No new shoes.
Ooh.
Yeah, no new purses. Yes,
So I
ma'am.
have a question. So
Sure.
going back to let's say you have two incomes. One is a straight 9 to 5. You know what your net income is going to be every month. But the second job, using your example that you gave before, you bake cakes. That fluctuates. You might have a month when you don't get any orders for cakes, and then wedding season or whatever, then you're getting a bunch of orders for cakes. So when your second income or your supplemental income fluctuates, how do you incorporate that into your budget?
Very good question. Very good question. It's a technique. It's what we call an irregular budget.
Okay.
So in that particular technique, and this is where that spending diary comes back, because you will have a record of every month that you had income from that cake baking.
Right.
So you take a look at that. And what you would do typically is take a look at a 12-month period. It's a good period to look at. You're looking at the most amount that you made. Let's say, hey, in the month of February, we had a great month. We made 5,000. Say, in the month of, I don't know, October, we only made 300. So you go from that range, 5,000 to 300. You get the median
Okay.
between those across all of those months. And that is your basis for that average. So say that average is 1,200. Hey, I can kind of depend on about 1,200 between the ebbs and flows of a regular. The other important thing is, remember, you're going to be doing this in pencil, right?
Right.
So as you make adjustments and tweaks to it, you're going to do that in pencil. You're going to erase and just do that from a budget. Based on the historical, you can look back. If you've got 2 years of data that says in the month of April, well, let's fast forward to May. In May, in 2022, I made $800. In 2023, I made $1,000. So there's probably a good chance that I'm going to make next month in May about $900. And then that's the number that you would put
Gotcha.
for your budget going forward. And then you're going to adjust that based on the actual once you reconcile the two. Good question. Great question. But at the end of it, it's zero based. It is exactly what came in, exactly what goes out. And keep in mind, we're compensating for things like we're also adding these things like paying ourselves first and saving for our longer term goals. The retirement goal, remember, is, hey, it is me at 50. It is me at 60. It is me at 65. When I no longer have a W-2 income, perhaps I'm retired, but I still want to sustain the current lifestyle or at least something close to the lifestyle. I don't want to have to leave my W-2, my commission base, my whatever income that I'm deriving today, and at 70 have that reduced down to zero, where I can't take vacations, where I can't, send the grandkids Christmas card or Christmas gifts and things like that. So keep those in mind. We stress that a lot. We can't stress that a lot enough, is that you want to get to a point where you're continuing your lifestyle into retirement. And then one day, if you're deciding to retire and have enough to retire at 45, because it really isn't an age, right? It is financial independence and having the ability to work when you want to work, if indeed you're able to sustain yourself financially.
Dwight,
Yes.
quick question. In one of the classes we had a participant to ask, if I'm already saving in my retirement, why should I have an emergency savings? Why can't I just pull out of my retirement? So how would you answer that question for someone?
Yes. The retirement is money for the future. It is money that you're going to need to sustain yourself into those golden years. So the short-term savings that is out of the market in this particular case is used for those things like my God only knows, the emergencies that come up. So you literally would not want to rob your future Anita to pay for things today. And that's literally what we're doing, for example, when you're incurring debt on a credit card. Because remember, the debt's in the past, but that is money that you're now having to pay against that you're earning in the future. So take a look at the long-term horizon beyond robbing that retirement account. Once you rob that retirement account of any funds, you have disturbed the compounding growth. Remember, I think we talked about that in our last session. We introduced a thing called a rule of 72, where you take the number 72, you divide an annual percentage rate that you expect to earn on your money, and it gives you the number of years for money to double. So when you pull money out, you're having less of that compounding effect to work and actually grow your money. There's this other thing, again, this is beyond budgeting, but a little bit more advanced, is this other manner of catching up and making sure that your money is outpacing the inflation rate. We hear a lot about that today in the news, about the inflation rate, which is about 2%. And all that says is, hey, the price that you pay for this bag of potato chips today probably won't be the same price you're paying 20 years from now. And would you agree that the price you're probably paying 20 years from now is going to be more than what you're paying today? That's inflation. So that money that's in that retirement account, in that investment account, you want it to outpace inflation so that 20 years from now, you've got today's dollars in constant terms, buying the same goods and services for you in the future. Make sense?
Yep.
So here's our action plan. We talked about it. Hey, setting these SMART goals, prioritizing those. We talked about getting an accountability partner as you create your spending plan, taking a look at those periodic expenses, those things that, Christmas tomorrow and I don't have anything to save, right? Implementing a spending diary. Thanks, Anita, for that. And then comparing your budget to your actual spending as we did in that one example. I think that's it. Any more additional questions, thoughts, comments? Well, hey, thanks for coming out and joining us today. This was great. Episode 2 here on Budget Boot Camp. Stand by for another episode that's coming up soon, but don't go anywhere. Stay tuned for a live Q&A session that we'll hold right here, right after these commercials.
How does it make you feel to be part of this?
It makes me feel amazing. I love seeing people excited about being able to receive. So many times we complain about what the community isn't doing. So we're out here doing our part to make sure, just like you want to give God's love, you also want people to know that their needs are just important.
This is our community event where we give back to our community with food, clothing, showers, health checks.
This year we service over 1,000 people in the community who need resources.
This year, 1,000. Next year, 5,000. That's the future of Summer Homies.
Tune in to Summer Homies 2024. We out here.